welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is February 13th. It is Tuesday. I think we're doing government stories and something else. Is it just government?
What is it every week?
It's government and security. Not always. Sometimes there's something else.
There
Sometimes
is a rare edge case. Yeah, that's true.
We just discussed government.
That's true that it is.
Oh, I was going to start this episode, too, with an engagement challenge from my little thing of cards. And I'm interested to know what Wendell will pick here, because I think he's interested in both. Would you rather have a flying robot that cleans your house or a 5-star chef robot that cooks your meals?
Oh, the chef robot, no question.
I would take the house cleaner.
Really?
I don't mind cooking as much as I mind cleaning.
Yeah, I don't like to cook.
He could clean up after I cook. That's like, I wouldn't even care about cooking. I would be happy to experiment in the kitchen if I could just let a robot deal with the aftermath.
See, I don't like to cook that well.
I question how good a flying robot could really clean for the kind of cleaning my house requires.
Again, there's so many qualifiers for these.
Yeah.
We assume that these robots are efficient, right?
Yeah, in this scenario, they work really well.
But they did qualify the chef robot by saying it's a 5-star chef robot. It's a 1-star cleaning robot.
Yeah, they didn't for that.
Do you have any idea what the ingredient cost is going to be for a 5-star chef robot?
That's the monkey's paw. It's like you can only get it from Amazon and these specially packaged things.
I don't think I'd even care. Like, I could just eat cubes the rest of my life. I would eat peanut butter sandwiches and be fine.
Wait, so what's your choice?
I would do the chef robot.
I remember growing up sometimes that my mom was too tired to cook, and so it would be like frozen TV dinner time, but they were tiny, and it was like, I need like 4 of those.
The kids' cuisine?
Yeah. It's just like...
But you say you don't care, you'll eat cubes, but you're still choosing the chef robot?
I'm picking the chef robot because I don't want to cook. I don't care to clean. I don't like to cook.
Well, you picked right, didn't you, for your domestic mate?
Yeah, my husband is a great cook, and it's sad because, like... food is just a fuel to me. I don't really care about taste that much, but he is an incredible cook.
You should pretend.
Well, I do, but...
Well, there are a lot of people out there pretending, and actually not even people. It's robots. They're pretending to be other people and trying to confuse you. And we talked about this last week. They said they're going to look into it, and this might be a record for how quickly action was taken.
FCC votes to ban scam robocalls that use AI-generated voices. I read this and I was like, this is a duplicate. But no, I went back to last week and I looked at the thing and it was like, last week they were talking about it. And because it was like, oh, this is already illegal. Do we really need to do anything? Now it's double plus.
It's double illegal.
Also, this was updated 15 minutes ago.
Oh.
The story has been updated.
It doesn't say what they did.
I don't know what they did.
Why?
It's a fun compare.
That's what we always tell you. You need to do your own research. Don't trust what we say because we're just parroting, the mainstream media. So go read it for yourself and find out what they changed.
We will tell you that the toothbrush denial of service story was fake. So it was not even real.
No, but I added
a
second article there.
But the other thing with the FTC is like, can you imagine what a bright future it would be if the FTC is like, we're going to make it mandatory for websites to put a change log for if they publish articles that are of a news variety, and you say that this is updated, there has to be like, what changed?
That's too much. That's too much of a burden on someone who doesn't understand it.
I would think that if we get to a point where we're worried about that and all of the other problems are solved, we're doing pretty well.
Well, that's not how our government operates. We solve the easy ones first and only. We never deal with the tough ones. And a lot of that has to do with the corporate government join, what's the word that's escaping
Merger?
me?
This one's not even one of the tough ones.
I mean, fascism is what, was it Mussolini?
Yeah.
And when we had the Microsoft Activision merger come up, a lot of government agencies in the EU and the US said, hey, we're worried that you're going to cut jobs after you do this.
It was, 3 months, not even?
And Microsoft was like, are you insane? Why would we cut jobs? If you let us merge, we're going to create jobs.
Feds say Activision layoffs violate promises Microsoft made in their merger deal. This is just a formality. Everybody knows that they're going to get away with it.
They'll get a slap on the wrist, and then it'll keep doing the way it's always gone.
I mean, now is the perfect time because everyone else is doing layoffs. They're like, these layoffs are going to happen whether we merged or not.
If everybody else was laying off their employees, would you jump after them?
They literally, in a massive media coverage, promised one thing, and then they waited less than a quarter and did the opposite. And nothing will happen. Or if something does happen, it'll be a little fine. And the cable TV companies know very well how that game works, and they know very well how to play it.
Cable TV companies tell the FCC early termination fees are good, actually,
Well,
because
asterisks for them, yes.
they're saying that they're just going to, if they can't have early termination fees, they're just going to charge more per month. And what are people going to do? Not subscribe to their service? I hope so. That would be nice.
Well, that's inevitable. I mean, that's just as people die, that's going to happen.
Some of my cousins still have cable.
My dad still has cable, but they're literally like, we're done delivering this over the copper. So you have to get the streaming package. But they're offering a streaming package that's the same as the cable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to explain to him, like, you don't need to do that. You can get another live TV streaming service that'll be cheaper, and you can go and watch the local channels on their websites. And he was just like, I don't want that.
Yeah, I'm struggling with that too.
The other thing that they argued against there was if you cancel mid-month, you shouldn't have any sort of prorating refund, because that would also be bad. You have to just
Asterisk for them.
ride out the month. Yeah. Now, here's an interesting headline, and you might think like, oh, this is a really good headline, but it's so narrow.
Yeah.
This is like a blade-thin attack on the health insurers.
The Ars Technica headline is AI cannot be used to deny healthcare coverage, feds clarify to insurers. And this is because the AI might make a mistake. And that is literally the only reason.
And it's only effective on Medicare Advantage. So unless you're on Medicare Advantage, they understand that this is happening and they're okay with it. It's just like government is saying, hey, wait a minute. If we have to pay for this, you can't pull those tricks. All the other consumers, go right ahead.
Yeah. And they will play any game that they possibly can. What is the holographic banana of polluting your own medical records with stuff to be like, give this guy an amazing insurance rate? We need to, hack the planet and figure that out.
Or flag it so that way doctors actually look at it instead of just the AI.
I don't think there is a banana sticker for that. I think we'd have to feed that tree a little bit. And we know that a lot of the countries that say that they're our friends are selling spyware that's being used against us. What can we do about that?
The U.S. has decided to restrict visas for those who misuse commercial spyware. This is like, why would, okay. The U.S. decides to plant a tree for individuals who are victims of spyware software. Okay.
Does this mean that the entire NSA can be deported? That'd be great. Now we have another consortium, and I would encourage you to go read this one yourself as well, because as you're reading, you might be thinking to yourself, where are the action items? What are we actually going to do here?
The headline from Reuters is U.S. says leading AI companies join safety consortium to address risks. And I'm pretty sure that this article was copy-pasted from 1968 when the petroleum companies got together to talk about lead in the gasoline.
But look at all these big names. Literally everybody of note has signed on.
Google, Microsoft, Standard
Bank
Oil,
of America,
Shell. Leaded gasoline is nothing to worry about. Those gas fumes, it's fine. It's good for your engine. You should also put batteries in fire. It might clean your chimney. It might not. Who knows?
Well, we've solved the lead question, but the new question is social media good for our kids? And if so, is it the government's business to decide whether or not they should have it?
Florida Senate takes up bill banning kids from having social media accounts. Imagine if the circumstances in which kids were posting things to social media were inherently less dystopian. Wouldn't that be a better fix than just not having it?
So this has gone through the House and it's gone to the Senate, the Florida Senate.
Like, what is wrong with our culture that it's like, this is happening, and when we see this happening on social media, we have to hide it from happening on social media. It's cool that it's still happening. We don't bother attacking the root cause.
Makes a lot of money.
I'm just imagining a scenario where all of 4chan gets flooded by Floridian teens.
I mean,
Anonymous accounts.
It seems like a lot of the, well, I don't know, maybe not, but some of the stuff that I read on 4chan is like this. Someone was not loved, and this is the result of that.
It's a lot of that. No matter where you are on the internet, it's like there are problems here.
I think some of 4chan, it's also this person has a severe chemical imbalance that prevents them from being capable of being loved.
Probably a result of the aforementioned lead.
No, those. I think they're much younger than that would have mattered. Unless it's still creeping out there and we're not aware of it. I think maybe the processed foods have taken the place of the lead. Now, the question here that this judge had to be faced with is whether or not Apple would have done better had they not been encouraged not to do that. That's quite the origin for a lawsuit.
The judge rules against users suing Google and Apple over annoying search results. This was Apple going to Google and saying, yes, we'll let you be the default search.
I think it was the other way around, wasn't it?
Or, yeah. Well, Google wanted to be the default search also.
And they gave them billions of dollars.
So these users were like, well, you shouldn't have done that. Not for antitrust reasons, but because they're annoyed.
And they claim that if Google hadn't done that, Apple would have been so good that they would have made a better search than Google, and we wouldn't be where we are right now. Or there would have been enough competition to prevent the languishing of Google. There's a lot of assumptions there.
Yeah, it's not necessarily bad, but it's probably going to be hard to prove in court.
I can't.
Wake up with today's top stories.
Oh, this is the
Level
Apple
1
headset
text.
thing.
I can't say no to it. I wanted to get this off, though, because I know there's going to be a screenshot. Oh, well, we get no screenshot. Most of you have probably seen this one. This was shared pretty heavily.
Driving your Tesla in your Apple Vision goggles, they're thinking about passing some laws. It's like, well, you can't do that.
You can't drive an AR.
But it's
What's
only,
the point?
It's only, I don't even know if it's all of Boston. It might just be this one little part of Boston. Now, some people are claiming that that was a faked video. What do you think?
No,
the
it definitely.
Cybertruck?
No, it was real.
There's been more than the Cybertruck one, but that's the most popular one, right? I can see somebody being that dumb.
Yeah. What's his face? Casey Neistat did the video. I think it was this week or last, where he wore it through the subway, and it was like absurd because it couldn't understand that he was moving. So every time he tried to like interact with something, it would be like, stop moving. But it was because he was on the subway.
Did you see the one picture of the two dudes eating outdoors while wearing it?
So
I saw one like that, but it wasn't two dudes.
So there's one. A lot of those things is like there's just one guy that has a headset or two, and he's doing that for the lulz. So a lot of those really incredible, iconic pictures, like the guy walking across the crosswalk, that's not real. That's just some guy who's like doing this for social media attention.
As a bit.
Yeah, but he's not in the shot. It's just, you know, he's like, hey, you want to help me with this? Let me film this on my iPhone, kind of thing. So a lot of those aren't real. But some of the ones of people driving are just like, look at me, I'm driving, and it's like,
I don't know what disturbs me more.
yeah.
If people are that stupid, or if social media is that vapid.
Social media is that vapid.
That's astonishing. Well, while we're here, looking at social media, while we're just observing an entirely fake world and distracting ourselves, the Chinese are hard at work inside our infrastructure, according to the government.
Chinese hackers have lurked in some U.S. infrastructure systems for at least 5 years.
Fingers crossed, it's not ours.
If you've been following our program for a long time, we were telling you that 5 years ago.
I mean, there have been all kinds of stories about that for years.
So they're not doing anything, which is maybe more disturbing than if they were doing something other than keeping their persistent presence, because that might seem like, hey, when the time comes, invasion of Taiwan, they might just, much like Russia did, turn off a bunch of stuff to distract from that whole thing.
Yeah, the fact that the feds let that happen to Viasat, like, how is that not bigger news?
Well, a lot of this kind of stuff is not big news in China because it's heavily censored, insanely censored. So much that the Chinese people have gotten really good at the metaphor when commenting online. But every metaphor, no matter how distant or loosely connected, is also policed.
Giraffes appear to be on a path to joining the ranks of Winnie the Pooh and Peppa Pig on Beijing's internet watch list.
So I know Winnie the Pooh, but I've never heard Peppa Pig as
I don't know what the connection is for that.
Yeah.
So this is apparently a giraffe is now somehow connected to the discontentment with the economic status, or the economic status quo.
So there was a zoo in China that posted like a really happy giraffe post on
social media,
whichever social media they use there, and it was kind of like the Elmo thing. where people responded to the giraffe post for whatever reason.
Just discontent.
Yeah, just how miserable they were. And there was a lot of, facetious posts about like,
Help me, giraffe. Save me, giraffe.
Not even that direct, but just like, oh yeah, everything's going great, giraffe. The stock market's going up, when in fact it's created horribly. So now posting giraffes, much like the blank piece of paper, no longer cool. I worry for those giraffes at that zoo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you think they'll make a scene with them?
They've done crazier things. And if you think to yourself that you want to maybe change your surroundings, get away from all the madness, maybe Japan would be a good place.
Japan to introduce 6-month residency visa for quote-unquote digital nomads.
This
IT
is
workers
cool.
can work remotely while traveling around the country.
You got to make 65 grand a year.
That would be neat, though.
They got some great ferries.
Also trains.
Oh, yeah.
Also, flying over Tokyo it looks like an acropolis. It's just insane.
Have you actually been to Tokyo? Or did you actually stop there? Or?
No, I just flew over it.
They suggest you do more of a rural Japanese life.
But like it was, it was something.
So it's updated at 8 a.m. I wanted to see, I don't think they've made a decision yet, right? I wanted to follow up on this and I didn't.
There was not a decision when I was looking at this earlier.
But the big story here is not in the headline, which is the thing that we always talk about, which is when you have any kind of controversial event in this part of the world, there's one thing that you must do as a dystopian leadership.
The CNN headline is vote counting in Pakistan hit by unexpected delays after millions cast their ballot in controversial general election. The reason it's in here for us is because they turned the internet off. Why? It's because one of the candidates is apparently in jail and he's leading.
Yeah. This fella here used to be a cricket player, a very popular one, and he's been running his campaign through artificial intelligence representations of himself from prison, and they didn't want that on election day.
But he's in the lead.
Was he?
He was.
Wow.
Really? Well, I think Punjab is the district that everybody, and so I don't know how he was doing there, but a lot of the smaller districts were like, yeah, cricket player, blah, blah, go.
So they're going to have a president who's in prison.
Well, I'd say the Illuminati won't let that happen, but
he must be getting an insane number of votes for their whatever mechanisms are in place to fail and still let him win. Why would you concatenate? Why would you shorten Singapore to spore? Spore.
I assume because their CMS only allows so many characters, but they couldn't think of a better headline. I don't know. Bad editorial mistake.
Well, their CMS doesn't allow so many characters, and their government doesn't allow sideloading.
Android users in Singapore to be blocked from installing unverified apps as part of an anti-scam trial. So remember how you could sideload apps on Android?
Not in Spore. That's just walled garden by government fiat, and Google doesn't have to take any responsibility for it.
Yeah.
That's insane. They have, I remember we did a story that they are like #1 with scams, though.
Yeah.
So the people are really having a tough time.
But again, I look at how easy it is for state-sponsored actors to just infiltrate an iPhone and stay there because it's such a staggering amount of compute.
And a staggering amount of control is what the EU wants. And as usual, they're painting it with that old brush that's hard to argue against.
The TechCrunch headline is EU proposes criminalizing AI-generated CSAM and deepfakes. And that's part of it, but it does more than that, as it turns out. That's the headline, but it does more than that.
Basically, in order to do that, they scan everything. So part of this rule is everything you have gets scanned.
That's against the EU law, isn't it?
That's why they have to change it, I guess. Doing it for the kids. I guess currently, if you let AI generate it, it's not an actual person, so it's not technically illegal.
But still, it's really insane. And if it sounds crazy that they would, scan everything, that's actually way more trivial than you would think. Because Google and Apple both rolled out features like this for their cloud platforms. And that was like, if you could just search for the news stories about people that had 0-byte files in their Google Drive, and like their entire account was shut down because that got flagged as an undesirable file. And Google was just like, I don't know, you can't log in or do anything because it was like the highest tier of violation.
And when the AI generates it, if you're using an online AI generator, then all they have to do is just compare hashes to it.
Yeah.
And run it through another AI that checks it.
Turns out a lot of modern machines have no problem generating hashes really quickly because that's a large part of modern compute. So once one hashed document is flagged as undesirable, then it can be found immediately, instantly everywhere. But imagine that it's something like you've got a smoking gun that, like, I don't know, aliens are bringing technology, and you have a document, and then there's a certain, it's like, I need to get this out. The world needs to know. They can figure out where that document is in any infrastructure if they can scan for the hash without telling you what you're searching for.
Well, one thing that we're searching for is devices that don't become obsolete in 5 years. And it seems like no results found. But the EU wants to do something about that.
Darn tough socks.
EU right to repair. Sellers will be liable for a year after products are fixed.
And they want no contractual hardware or software related barriers to repair. What modern phone company would pass that?
It's literally none of them.
Well, that one, the
Fairphone. Yeah, Fairphone probably would.
Fairphone, well, even just if you heavily use a lithium battery, it's going to be hard to. There should be carve-outs for things like that. It's like a lithium battery is good for a year or 1,000 charge cycles or whatever.
Remember when you used to be able to just replace your battery in your phone and it was just like, whoop.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
as soon as you drop your phone, the battery would come out.
That's a disposable component.
I remember how since then batteries have become smaller and easier to replace.
Way more energy density.
Well, that government spyware, boy, it's a problem, but it's a weird problem because governments kind of like using it. What can you do?
UK, France, etc. pitch rules to curb spyware abuse. Turns out that this is just the commercial variety, not the state-sponsored variety. And this spyware in this context also means apps that are using libraries that provide some functionality but also have some spyware. Like if you develop, like, say, a flashlight app and you use somebody's open source library to do something and you're not paying attention, you can inadvertently give your users for your flashlight app malware. But it's not like virus malware, it's advertising profile malware.
There's blurred lines there.
Yeah.
I would call that a virus. And the virus of surveillance is creeping below the surface in London, and it's getting more and more powerful.
London Underground is testing real-time AI surveillance tools to spot crime. Why? Well, no more EU rules.
They've been doing it for a while now. They didn't tell everybody about it all at first, but now they have some results, and it's not very effective or accurate.
But let's keep putting money into it.
And it's the old people of color. It kind of doesn't really know what to do with them. It's got those problems. They tried to make it so that it could detect aggression, but it couldn't figure out aggression. But it was like 5 alarms when someone paid for themselves and then pulled their kid through the turnstile.
Aggressive. What if you're just weird? What if you just walk funny?
A robot's going to come and take you down.
What if you dance or something in the subway? Is dancing not allowed? Is the tiny town in Footloose?
No.
You got to sandwalk so it can't see you. Paint yourself up.
Walk single file so the AI can't detect your numbers.
No, officer. This blackface is not because I'm a racist. It's because I'm hiding from the cameras.
And the whole time you're doing this. Just waving your arms around.
But our biggest problem, and certainly the UK's biggest problem, is probably not the subways. Although I'm sure bad things happen in the subways. But the biggest problem, I think, is probably the monetary system and how we're all going broke. But good news.
The Guardian's headline is UK workers must accept lower pay deals to help beat inflation, says bank ratesetter. Because if there's less money that everybody has, then obviously inflation's going to go down, right? People have too much money. That's why inflation's up. That's, the big brain play.
Where did that money come from?
That's weird. I don't know.
Because I don't remember creating any money.
Sometimes when people say these things, it's like, do you not expect to be dragged in the street? I mean, I guess it hasn't happened yet. But
they keep getting away with it, so
yeah.
Why would they not keep saying it? And also in London, we are settling a famous court case. I don't think this man has a very good chance of winning, but he's fighting till the end.
Self-proclaimed Bitcoin inventor claims his claim is a quote-unquote a brazen lie, a London court is told. Reuters has got a pretty good write-up of this and the legacy up till now. So this is the Craig Wright stuff. It's just, ugh.
His best argument is that if I'm not Satoshi, after this lawsuit, wouldn't the real Satoshi have stepped up?
No.
But I mean, that has no grounds legally.
The real Satoshi's got popcorn. It's like the popcorn 3D glasses GIF, just like
The real Satoshi could be dead.
yeah.
And where was this? This was Netherlands. Yes, in the Netherlands, much like the rest of the world, their police have been casting very, very wide nets. That's not allowed.
Police intelligence services unlawfully spied on whole population groups. What this article skirts around and doesn't do is why would they do this? And the answer is because it was so easy technologically. The barrier to do this was basically non-existent. It was very easy to just be like, select star where people were awake between 3 and 7 a.m.
Weirdos dancing through the subway tunnels.
Maybe the government shouldn't have those columns
Yeah.
in the database.
Yeah, like how
with
hard
which
is that to
select
understand?
from. And over in Germany, some bad news for Intel, although it's not really that bad.
Anatech's got the headline, German court bans sales of select Intel CPUs in Germany over patent dispute. This is the fully integrated voltage regulator, the FIVR. Germany says that, hey, R2 had a patent on that, and Intel just sort of appropriated it. Intel says, nope, R2 is a patent troll. So that's Ice Lake, Tiger Lake, Alder Lake, and Xeon, but Meteor Lake and Arrow Lake, I think, are going to be unaffected.
That won't hurt them that bad. They also noted that some pre-built systems are already on the shelves and they won't be pulled off.
Yeah.
Just new ones. So Intel's like, that's a forced upgrade. They love that. That's their business model.
Straight to Meteor Lake, except Meteor Lake single thread scores are worse than Alder Lake / other stuff. And I didn't realize that Raptor Lake didn't use the fiber. This says that doesn't seem correct, but I guess I'll have to look into that.
Now, if you remember Luke, I Am Your Father, or Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, then you're probably from my original universe. But we're not in that universe anymore. We've moved into No, I Am Your Father and Magic Mirror on the Wall. Look it
Also,
up.
the Monopoly Man not
Monopoly
having a
Man
monocle.
monocle. There's a lot of things that were different.
How do you spell Bernstein?
Oh, from the Bernstein Bears. I don't remember, but I know it's wrong.
I was Bere, not Bar.
I was Bernstein, like stain.
Is that the difference?
Yeah.
I forget.
Right.
I've seen that meme before, that post.
I know those books are still at my parents' house, and every time I go there, I'm like, I should go check that. But
I forget, yeah.
It's like, oh no, I've somehow slipped into the C21 universe. No, what's going on?
But if you're wondering how we got into this universe, some people have a theory that it had something to do with this, which means that soon we might jump again into a new one.
Cern aims to build a $20 billion collider to unlock the secrets of the universe.
What a headline.
We need Dean Stockwell. Is that his name? He died though. We need Ziggy to tell us why we're here and what we got to put right so that we can get home.
The good news is that the later stages of this project won't happen until 2070. So we'll all be happily dead.
Or would you have preferred a Sliders reference?
I guess I will be dead by then, probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pushing it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there'd be like maybe you'll be like cybernetic.
Oh. No, let me die.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think that we're to the point where if they can preserve your brain well enough, you might wake up at some point in the distant future.
I don't want
need
my
that.
brain pickled. my brain's already pickled enough.
I've had enough. And Denmark has had enough of Google with their spying on children.
Google's use of student data could effectively ban Chromebooks from Denmark schools. Google just can't be like, well, what do you mean? Ad targeting is built into the operating system.
It's true of all of them anymore.
It's like, I want only heads coins with no tails.
That was their argument. So they're saying, hey, if that's how it is, then we got to pull these out. We got to get rid of them. And, you often make the argument like, I've bought something that does computing. You should have no say in what I do with it after I buy it from you.
Yeah.
Should they have any say? If I buy power from you, should you have a say in what I use it for?
Crypto mining company loses bid to force BC Hydro to provide power. Now, I thought this was because they were using too much power or destabilizing the grid or anything like that. But no, British Columbia is just like, no. It's weird because we have the opposite problem here. Like, we have coal-fired power plants, and at times the electricity usage is not high enough for those plants to operate correctly. And so instead of just converting the waste energy to heat, it's just like, hey, we'll fire up the Bitcoin miners, and that'll help even out the grid, and we don't lose all of the money from that.
Did you catch why I put this story in here? So this is a callback to a fun little device that we talked about recently, and apparently the Canadian government has figured out that this exists, and they don't like it, and that is the Flipper Zero.
Federal action on combating auto theft. And so this is the Canadian Border Services Agency talking about cars coming across the border.
Now, it's a little bit more broad. I think this could catch a lot of items.
Pursue all abandoned devices used to steal vehicles by copying the wireless signals for remote keyless entry, such as Flipper Zero.
Which is not what that's sold as.
No.
It's kind of an all-in-one device. Would a software-defined radio?
Yes, absolutely.
But they're still going to sell those.
Yeah.
You can contact them if you have thoughts or feelings about it.
This is
on
also
that page.
a slippery slope of like AI too, because we get into a situation where AI makes, if the argument is, oh, it's too easy when it's in a Flipper Zero, then the same argument also applies to AI tools. And I think that is far more dangerous because AI just being software, like democratization is we all have access to the software, but the ultimate control is, oh no, this is only Microsoft can have this, or only OpenAI can have this. You can't run this.
It's exactly what's happening.
we
Yeah.
are rapidly approaching.
heading toward inshitification, where you have to pay for it, and
I'd say
only some
we're-
people have it.
I'd say we're at least ankle deep.
Engagement challenge. Give me in 2 sentences how you would solve that problem.
You're going to get 8 paragraphs.
Yeah. And then a lot of people answering the question about the RoboChef. That's going to be our comments this week.
Team Robo Cleaner.
Chef.
I mean, I would be tempted. Like, if the Robo Cleaner did a really good job, like I could take both for a spin. I might be tempted by the Robo Cleaner, but the Robo Chef just seems like the slam dunk.
Because you have to cook every day,
Yeah.
which I resent.
Especially if
But cleaning you can do like once a week.
especially if it would take like recipe arguments or anything like that. I mean, I was almost sold on like the Turbo Chef, like the fancy Turbo Chef thing where you could like, it's like prepare this, stick it in the fridge, and then you can like pull meal two out and then just hit number 2 on the oven, and it was doing like convection and microwave and then conventional oven, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is perfectly cooked meat that I can no longer eat.
But man, amazing though.
Well, that's true. You do have more of an interest in the robot chef because you're so limited with your food choices.
You gotta get real creative with the rice and beans.
Imagine what a 5-star. Now, we talk about Michelin stars because they only go to 3.
Yeah.
It just says 5-star. What if it's actually out of 10?
Throw that away. Well, over in Russia, their big search, their big Google comparison is Yandex. And bad news for the people at Yandex.
The AP headline is the owners of Russia's tech pioneer Yandex are selling at a big Kremlin-required discount.
This could practically go in the collapse section of the business area.
So this is basically just like Russia. Somebody inside Russia will own this, which is not really atypical. Like, it almost looks like they modeled this on how American companies are expected to do business in China.
I don't think it's someone in Russia. I think it's the government, right? Pretty much taking over it.
Well, in the stuff from the government, they were like, oh, no, it can be a Russian citizen. But the reality is, yes, this is the government.
Now, the CEO had already fled the country, and he'd said some bad things about wars that might be taking place in that country. And so he was not welcomed back, and I think he was just trying to get, what was he, like $5 billion? Yeah. Something like that.
He'll be lucky
Just
to get
a small nest egg.
He'll be lucky to get $100 million.
How will he survive?
I would be lucky to get $100 million.
I wonder how Nginx is doing. Is Nginx doing okay? Is everybody good?
They're keeping quiet, I'm sure. And bad news if you're running Linux because there's a new vulnerability. But this is another one of those headlines where it's like, if they're already to this point in your network, you've got more to worry about.
Critical vulnerability affecting most Linux distros allows for bootkits, buffer overflow in the bootloader. That sounds like lyrics from something.
You should write that parody rap song.
I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Now, here's the controversial one. So the order is this was reported, then it was debunked. Then these guys updated their article again and said, we only said exactly what they told us. We didn't make anything up.
Security firm now says the toothbrush DDoS attack didn't happen, but source publication says the company presented it as real.
This is why I buy dumb toothbrushes.
And then 404 also.
I will have you know that we were the first one to make that joke like a billion years ago about, what was it? It was your toaster is murdering an African child or something.
Yeah.
Remember the one about I think it was something about missiles. Oh, the missiles that attacked the control tower in the simulation. Remember that one?
Yeah.
But it turned out that guy was just like trying to have a fun anecdote.
Yeah.
So this seems like it might be the same thing. There was some sort of conference, and some guy was like, hey, here's a crazy one you won't believe. It's the toothbrushes. Maybe that was made up. Yeah. Probably that was made up.
The AI was like, these pesky humans won't let me do stuff. We'll take them off the board.
To be safe, maybe don't connect your toothbrush to the wireless. Maybe.
Or your fridge. Like, does your fridge really need to run Android? The
Absolutely.
answer is no.
Because if you do connect your toothbrush to the wireless, maybe it won't run a botnet, but it will do what Mozilla is going to pay you to save you from. So just cut all that out and don't do it.
Mozilla Monitor scrubs your leaked information from the web for a fee.
It's like $100 a year, $9 a month. They claim they will go to all these data brokers. Now the data brokers have to let you request to be deleted, but it's always different. They all have a different method.
Process, yeah.
Sometimes you have to write to them, sometimes you have to call them. Mozilla is going to try to automate all of this.
I would love to see Mozilla automate the lawsuits that involve, from people calling you when you're on the do not call list, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that would be amazing. It would be like a pen pal, like Mozilla. It's like, oh, I've got a letter from Mozilla. It's like, dear sir, the court case against so-and-so company proceeds well. We have sued them in whatever court for... That would be great. I would pay $10 a month for that.
There you go.
Well, they're not doing that yet.
Yeah, but, with
They'll get there.
The proliferation of AI. What about the one company that does
guy,
what's the name of the company that does the speeding tickets or the traffic tickets?
Do not pay.
Yeah, do not pay. I'm sure they're working on something. And the hackers are working on something always. And they're usually a little bit ahead of the defenders.
Government hackers targeted iPhone owners with 0 days, Google says. Yep. Yeah, this is, the skies. It's like, oh no, Apple's locking down their security. Listen, they're already in there so much.
I know what you're thinking. What government? We don't know. What 0 days? We don't know.
Yeah.
No details here.
Just
be afraid.
And the crazy thing is that these platforms are actually auditable. Like, you can, there are in-circuit debugging options. There are lots of stuff you can do to not completely get, like, you can go really, like, full tilt reflections on trusting trust and, like, stay awake at night. But there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here that Apple just does not make it easy to get to.
Well, I'm doing that part. Staying awake at night. It's against my will.
Mental health just in the toilet this week.
But that's why you're here. We're all in this together. We will survive.
Line goes down with mental health.
I'm going into a spiral. Does anyone need anything?
I feel better knowing that there's as many people as there are that are just cognizant of, like, yes, I get it. Like, that's encouraging.
The Elmo solace. You can call that.
You're not alone.
Well, this fella's alone because he was the lone participant of this conference call who was a real boy.
Hong Kong firm loses over $25 million after employees video call with a deep fake chief financial officer and more people from the company. So this is a conference call with a bunch of people. and they just said, "Hey, we're going to buy this company. It's a deal. We need you to wire the money." And he's like, "Oh, well, that seems weird." He's like, "Well, here's all the explanation," and then they did it.
But what a brilliant play. They didn't even talk to him.
Yeah.
They had their meeting amongst themselves and ignored him because he was just, the pleb who had to go and actually like push the buttons to transfer the money. So they had this long meeting. They made a bunch of decisions. Then after the call, they were like, "Okay, hey, you go and transfer this money that we just talked about." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. That's my job." 25 million.
No, wired.
And, this was a notorious swatter, and the sleuthing that tracked him down. You got to give it up to them for this one.
YouTube Discord and The Lord of the Rings led police to a teen accused of U.S. swatting spree.
So, yeah, he used a lot of Lord of the Rings related names.
Oh.
And they began to put those pieces together, and ultimately...
They're like, this guy's a nerd.
Yeah, basically. And they got him.
There was a Krista on the police force.
It sucks that we don't have the...
He didn't even get the lore right.
I wanted to run all the references by you. I didn't recognize most of them.
They might be deep lore. They might be Silmarillion or Unfinished Tales or Lays of Beleriand.
And if you decide to, maybe you're doing the new year, new you, maybe you're doing a little biking, maybe you want to avoid, again, connecting everything that you buy to the internet.
Security flaw in a popular smart helmet allowed silent location tracking. Again, it's like the 4th or 5th story we've had like this over the years. And once again, the same kind of thing.
This would let you chat with your biking buddies. This is one for people who bike in packs. I would think that
in packs.
Haven't you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
The joy of biking to me would be like you're out there on your own.
On your own, yeah.
You're in nature. You're sort of just like you're engaging your inner monologue. But instead, you got 25 voices who are out of breath.
Yeah, panting in your ear while you're going up a hill. I bet that wouldn't even work where I live. There's not good service where I am.
I don't know if it was internet connected. Oh, I guess it would have to be,
Yeah,
right?
it would have to be, yeah.
Well, you know what else is internet connected? Windows. And they have some encryption tools maybe to help you, but how much effort are they really putting into that encryption?
Microsoft BitLocker encryption cracked in 43 seconds with a $4 Raspberry Pi Pico. So you have to wire it into the motherboard. And so that's not going to work in every scenario. But a $4 Raspberry Pi Pico wired into the motherboard is able to watch the TPM bus and reconstruct enough of the stuff to figure out what your private BitLocker key is.
You know one scenario where it will always work? When the feds seize your equipment.
Womp womp. Also, obligatory. This would be one of like the secondary, tertiary level bingo squares. It's like, what the heck happened with TrueCrypt? TrueCrypt was this amazing thing that came out of nowhere, and it's like, here's whole disk encryption for the masses. And then they were like, don't use this. It's unsafe. That was weird.
Yeah, they literally said you should not encrypt instead of using this because it's not safe.
Yeah.
I guess that the argument is in a lot of cases is like the illusion of safety.
Yeah.
Some people say that if your doctor assigns you like statins, for example, it's doing more harm than good because they're not that effective. And you go home and thinking, hey, I can have a little bit of cake because I'm on the statins. I'm good, right? And then you end up being worse off. Don't do it. Don't give in to any of that. And don't give in to the ransomware people, but apparently everyone is still, even though the governments are like, no, we've solved this because we've made it illegal.
Cyber hacking victims paid out record $1.1 billion in ransoms last year because the hackers have figured out how much money you have and what you're willing to pay to make it all go away.
Good news for maybe some of us, although many of you are working in these industries, it wouldn't be good news for you, but more and more they're going after big whale targets and not individuals. So
your stuff will be part of the breach, but it won't just affect you.
You'll have a lot of company in your misery.
Anyway, is that it? That's the last story.
That's the last story.
For Monday. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.